Do you think, David, that knowing that, like, I guess the generations that are up and coming, have just a lot of, it's just everything so fast paced.
Yes.
Do you think Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood would have worked today, like with that slow pace, the low voice? Do you
Ye-
think it still would have worked today?
I think in some ways it worked. I don't think it would have worked as thoroughly as it did when it first came on the air, because you're right. Children get used to the fast pace. But what he did do, the pace of his program, no matter what era we're in, was the right pace for that age group. So, yes, and not everybody likes everything they see on television. There might be some children that couldn't, it was too slow for them. I don't think that would be the case generally, but it may have been. But yes, I think it would have worked. Where I think it would have worked with children, where it may not have worked, was adults' perception of it being slow. I think the children would have gotten it. Maybe the adults wouldn't have. But he was doing the pace that a young child of that age, preschool, can take in, can process. And that was the pace of a preschooler. Now, when children get older, they can take a faster pace. So I do think, yes, what's the evidence of that is that I'm getting letters from people your age and older who grew up with it. They have kids now, and they say their kids are watching it too, and it's making an impression on their children as it did on them. So I do think there's an audience for it. But I know what you're saying. I think the perception of being slow paced is an adult perception, maybe.
But still, and in my opinion, is it's still just a good lesson to learn.
Yes.
How to like slow down and like keep your attention span intact. I just want like it is a good lesson to learn.
It is a good lesson. And you know what the lesson was? That if you notice, when you watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, there are segments that last for 8 or 10 minutes sometimes. And he once said, well, who's to say that a child's attention span can't be longer than it is, more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds or 30 seconds? Let's challenge that attention span. And I think he was right in challenging the attention span. Now, maybe all children at that time couldn't process it, but there were a lot of children who could. So I think he was doing what is appropriate for that age group through Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and his pace was at their speed at that age.
And
So I think, I've always thought that children learn to walk and talk and read all about the same time around the world. If you're living in India, you learn to speak the Indian language about the same time. And you learn to walk and about the same time. It's child development. And that's how he geared the program to the comprehension of and development of young children. But he studied that too. It wasn't something he second guessed. He had a lot of schooling and a lot of studies and observation of children to do what he did through television.
don't you think it's a little ironic that we're having this conversation, David, knowing that your character was just that fast-paced guy to start out of?
Yes. Well, that was part of his intention too. He said, I remember the day that I got the job, and he showed me the first week of scripts. He said, now I want Mr. McFeely to be in a hurry, bustling about and doing this and doing that. Oh, I can't wait, gotta go. To be able to contrast that with Fred's deliberate pace. And then over the years, Mr. McFeely slowed down, and that was a lesson too. One day he said, and it was in the script, I was in a hurry, I've got to go, take it. And he said, Mr. McFeely, you're always in a hurry. Now you come on in, have a seat, and let's do sitting still exercises. And this was, and he had me, this is part of the script, he had me put my hands here and just say, and sit still for, and I'll count to 10, Mr. McFeely, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But the purpose was to take your time and slow down. And the reason I was in a hurry, I was coming back to take a puzzle that I had brought to him, a big puzzle that he was putting together, and he hadn't quite finished. And I said, "Oh, hurry up, Mr. Rogers, hurry up! I've got to get this back to the library. It's going to close." He said, "Mr. McFeely, I can't do this when you when you rush me," and that was a lesson. So he used the pace of McFeely to get some lessons across too. So it was a deliberate construct that McFeely would be in a hurry. He never really slowed down to Fred's pace.
What was like the character's response to that, Dave? Like, were you supposed to like be maybe like frustrated knowing you were in that hurry, or did you just play along with it?
No. In the course of that script, I was to be in a hurry, and I was to sort of get Fred upset because I was rushing him. Because a lot of children are rushed. Hurry up, put your coat on, do this, do that, we have to go. And it's good to be able to take your time and do things right. And he wrote a song called I Like to Take My Time and Do Things Right. Everything that he did on the program had a purpose. It wasn't just, oh, let's open the cameras up and do a show or program.
Yeah, like wing it pretty much.
Yeah, it was not at all winged. It was everything that was done was written out very precisely. It was, and Fred wrote the scripts, and he would study child development, and he would have Dr. Margaret McFarland was a professor of child development at the University of Pittsburgh, and each Tuesday they met for about 3 hours and talked about different concepts that he might do on the program. So he had a lot of people who would help him take an idea he had and put it into child development jargon of sorts, and then put it in the script and then introduce the children.
Yeah.
So it was well thought out. It was nothing winged. It may look like that, but it was not winged.